Hello and welcome to the Boomer Live. Today we are here to talk about Mumbai Indians versus Royal Challengers Bangalore. And later on in the show, we'll be talking about Sunrisers Hyderabad versus Chennai Super Kings. But first up, let's talk about the match which just got over. If you have to talk about the match, it was the Royal Challengers who won the toss on a sticky wicket, sent Mumbai into bat. Mumbai got off to a really good start. It just looked like Rohit Sharma was coming good, but from there on, it was an abysmal performance from Mumbai Indians. They were never in the game. But all thanks to Surya Kumar Yadav's fighting knock, which took them above 150. From there on, it was a cruise control kind of a chase for RCB, and they posted and they chased it down with 8 wickets remaining. And it was one of those chases where you remember that Mumbai's bowling lacks penetration. I'm here with Nikhil to talk about it.
Yeah.
And first up, Nikhil, did you really think there was a game at all? Because both the games, you just felt like two champion sides looking for options do not have answers to their big hole which they have to fill.
Yeah, two teams, champion sides who've done very bad at the auction, and the results are for all to see. Uh, I think even in the previous two seasons, let's talk about Mumbai first. Then, when they let go of somebody like Hardik and the others, you knew they are big shoes to fill. No matter how much they were performing, there is an
Right.
assurance. There was Trent Bolt with Bumrah. The composition of the side was such that you would fear.
Right.
Now just look at this Mumbai side, and there are not even 3 to 4 names that you will fear. No disrespect to anyone, but it doesn't look like a side that is capable enough to win a championship. They can still turn it around, but it's going to ask a lot out of people who have not been regulars for their even previous franchises to do that job for them. So
Right.
playing with only two overseas, I don't know how much sense does it make. Tim David playing two games, not playing. Why would you drop Tamal Mills? I have no clue. Just very bizarre team selection. Similarly with CSK, but then we'll get to that later. But it's just uh, probably the right time that if you think that you are too far ahead in the game comes back to bite you. That's what's happening with Mumbai. That everybody knows that it's only Bumrah that you have to see off. Once you've done that, your job is done. That's not the case with, say, an RCB, a Lucknow,
Right.
a Gujarat. So they also don't have five good bowlers, but they have at least three good ones. So that is the problem. Mumbai only have
Absolutely.
one good bowler. So you cannot expect the one guy to be doing everything. I think Surya Kumar Yadav has bailed them out twice in a row, but it will again hide the flaws of Rohit's form with the bat. And so there are just too many issues that were being hidden. And now this season, as I said, this is the first time RCB had two stands of over 50 for the first two wickets against Mumbai in the IPL.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
as I said, it's going to be a season of firsts for Mumbai.
Now, talking about that, of course, Nikhil, now going back to a very important point. Last couple of games, you can say it was really poor bowling from Mumbai. They did not
Yeah.
have the options. But look at their batting. They've just managed to do 160 and today just 150. That too 150, all thanks to the poor death bowling, where we'll speak about Siraj and death bowling of RCB later on in the show. But then again, it was Surya Kumar Yadav. Again, you mentioned that he bailed them out. If not for
Yeah.
that, this would have been easily a 130, 120, even 100. So it could have been another day for Mumbai where the batting did not click. And even last year, if I have to take you back, this was an issue with Mumbai Indians that batting did not just come into the fold, and that was one of the reasons why they did not qualify for the playoffs as well. So do you reckon this has been just spread from or carried forward from the last year to this season as well?
Yeah, exactly. And it was it's a bit like when you have things working in your favor, some of the things get hidden, as I just said a while back. That you don't look at those things that with that much detail. In terms of Rohit's form in the last 4 years has been poor, but this year is when people will start talking about it a lot more because of the results. So when results don't go your way, suddenly everything seems bad, and it looks like, okay, there is this problem. Okay, there is this problem. What was the solution? Who was covering
Right.
up before? So
Right.
when you have a potential bowling lineup which had Bolt, Bumrah, Rahul Chair, these are good guys based on whom you could slip in Nathan Coulter Nile, you could slip in Jimmy Nishan, you could slip in Mitchell McClenaghan. Mitchell McClenaghan still did a far better job at times with the new world. So these are specific roles, and it's very surprising to see the way Mumbai have gone about their selections. So it's weird, and it will take some time, and we'll need more information from the dressing room. That in
Yeah.
terms of why is this happening? Why are such selection calls being taken?
Right. Last match, after the last match, there was this video which came out on their social media handles regarding their dressing room conversations and how desperate they wanted to go out there. And Rohit Sharma just mentioned about being
Yeah.
desperate, not showing their intent, being hungry for wins. And you could sense it as well. Today they wanted that win. They got off to a really good start, 50 for no loss with Ishan Kishan and Rohit Sharma timing the ball so beautifully. But from there on, you just think that this team is just falling apart. It's just two pillars. It's just Surya Kumar Yadav, and if Rohit Sharma gets going, that is it. They do not have a strong pillar to hold them, isn't it? Or is it just that Ishan Kishan also is now getting into a hole where he's not able to strike the ball and get away with things?
So I was just trying to read up what Rohit said at the at the post match, and he said that couple of guys were not available in terms of overseas picks. So that could be a very interesting discussion later if we get to know more details about it. So
Okay,
having said that, what you said as the problem, I think there is another good stat to follow up that whenever they've lost more than 3 games, 4 times out of those 5 seasons has been after mega auction.
right.
So you can realize they have it's taken them time to identify the exact order, the exact way they want to. Because as I said, it's not that they're not doing well. They're doing well, but it's in limited patches. You can see a glimpses of it, but you're not seeing it for a sustained period of time. I mean, the way Surya batted yes today, you could not figure out that okay they were in a position if you did not look at the scorecard. So that is something that we need to address very big time. And again, it's due to the lack of big runs for Rohit. You can't expect Kishan to do it every game. It's not going to come off for him as well. And then you push in an under 19 guy at number 3. What is your thinking now? Are you telling me that under 19 guy will come in and hit an IPL attack? Even a Mumbai IPL attack will. It's probably the Mumbai attack only that he can hit. Malab, to be very honest, that
Maybe
if
Chennai
that
as
is
well.
what, yeah, maybe Chennai as well. Because again, in that game as well, it never looked like the opposition was in trouble. Even in the afternoon game or in the game that happened in the evening, you never thought that they were in trouble. It was only due to, as you said, glimpses of good time, good phases. But then again, if you have to depend on Kiran Pollard to pull 4 overs for you in 2022, there is something seriously that's gone wrong for you in your construction of the side.
Yesterday also we did discuss about teams being built in auction table and how big a
Yeah.
factor is auction for these teams. Do you reckon that Mumbai should have approached with a more proactive approach in auction? There's not an auction review at all, but then now you're
Yeah.
seeing the effect of auction on this team. They
Yeah.
should have been more proactive, don't you think? Because they let go of Krunal and Hardik, who was possibly the balance, or probably you can say the
Yeah.
heart and soul of this team in giving that balance.
Yeah.
If you look at last 3 to 4 years, or maybe last 6 years at least, they
Yeah.
didn't have to look back into a Pollard because these two used to bail them out either with the bat
True.
or either with the ball. Whenever Rohit wanted a wicket, he used to look out there if a bowler has a bad day, and more often than not, they used to do it. Now they do not have a spinner. That wasn't that surprising for you in the
Yes.
auction where they did not go for someone like a
Yeah.
Rahul Chair who has done well for them. They did not go
Yeah.
for Hardik Pandya as well, who has been a core member of this
Yeah.
team. They're
But
not even retained.
Hardik was drafted, right? So
Yeah, he
you would
was
never
drafted.
have.
My point is, you can possibly get a Surya Kumar Yadav, but you cannot get an Hardik Pandya kind of a player who can ball
Yeah.
and also bat, because that's a very rare commodity in the market, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's my point again. Or even Krunal Pandya, they could have possibly gone for, though even for 8 crores, but they spent the
Yeah.
same amount of money at a Jofra Archer, who you don't even know he'll be there for next season. Now with ECB being strict on their policies with the Test cricketers,
Yeah.
what is the chance that he's going to be there next season? So don't you think that was a clear miscalculation? Maybe for the first time we're seeing the Mumbai really miscalculated the auction, right?
Yeah, and that would be fun if Archer is the one who's going to miss out on a season of IPL. Then that could be it could be very interesting to see because again, the smile is because Mumbai aren't the team that makes such decisions, such calls. So when
Right.
they do that, it's very obvious to the eye that okay, there is something that is not working out as per plan. As you said, now these auction things are obviously beyond the control of the team as well after a point of time, but you could not see replacements as well. As you said, there wasn't anyone who you could look at and say that okay, this guy is going to replace Hardik in the team, this guy is going to replace Kunal in the team. There weren't any such players picked. They hardly picked players to be very honest. Like Mumbai,
Right.
it almost looked like after that okay, let's get some players in. So we don't know what the strategy is in terms of how long term they are thinking because giving games to Devil Breweries definitely means that they're looking at him as a permanent member of the 11.
Yeah.
But again, I just feel it's too early to groom a guy, an under 19 guy.
Yeah.
Of course, he's talented, but we're just probably putting too much pressure on him with whatever we have up and down. Yes, if
Mm.
Rohit was getting good runs, classic example is say an Ayush Badoni. Again, a wrong example in terms of name, but that's how you would want to use a player.
Yeah.
That give him confidence up and down, and then ask him to go. Now look
Right.
at what's happening with Abdul Samad. He's been
Right.
retained, but he's been dropped from the side. It makes no
Absolutely.
sense to retain a guy and then not play him because you're telling me you didn't think this through. So it's
Right.
just weird the way some of the teams have functioned so far.
Yeah, today very little taken aback, especially. I know that we're talking just about Mumbai and we're not even appreciating RCB over here, but that's a bigger talking point, and that's one of the reasons why we are here in this live as well.
Yeah,
Very little surprised or taken aback when he just saw two overseas players, and Rohit Sharma spoke about not two overseas players not being available. Timor
yeah,
Williams was fit. You can say about Daniel Sams was just a repercussion of what he balled last time. I don't know if he
yeah,
was mentioning Jofra Archer and probably Tim David out there.
yeah,
But if not for them, these are the only overseas players they have. Or else Riley Meredith is another option. Possibly he's injured.
yeah.
We have no
Maybe.
update on that yet. That
True.
also. Who do you reckon will fit into this team, and what can be their ideal balance? Because they have a gun player in Sanjay Yadav who has done so well in the TNPL. He's done
Yes.
so well in the domestic circuit as a looking ball, who can
Yep.
bat. Don't you
Yep.
reckon that guy can walk into the team as a probably a batting all-rounder batting in place of Ramandeep Singh, and also probably play Riley Meredith in place of Jaydev Unadkat? No, nothing taking away from Jaydev Unadkat, who had a decent day at the office, but then you're looking
Yeah.
at something called penetration, who can actually scare other batting attacks, right? You're saying Bumrah and Riley Meredith bowling at 140 Ks. Any batting attack will look into it, be like, okay, we have to be wary of
Yeah.
these
Be
two
careful.
lads, isn't it?
Yeah. So I think there are options. I'm still not sure why they don't want to play Fabian Allen. Uh, he is somebody who can uh, be the left arm spinner who can start the bowling. He can bowl in the middle overs as well. And if the ball is doing a bit, he can even bowl in the 14th, 15th over if the need arises. So, and he's handy with the bat and he's absolutely gun in the field. So it's very surprising. As I said, this is probably the first time that I cannot try and understand that what is it that they're thinking in terms of when they select in this 11, in terms of having the
Right.
Ramandeep Singh who's they're giving away. It's very bizarre. I mean, you don't see Mumbai taking such calls because, again, though we don't know who the overseas players are, but even the construction of the side as it is right now, you're batting Surya out of position as well. So
Right.
you don't love it's very shooting in the air and kind of figuring out that okay, this is what their thinking is. Then you can possibly come up and reply that okay, if you're thinking like this, maybe this is a better option alternative to that. Because if you
Right.
say Basil Thampi after that game against Josh Butler where he didn't get the ball, then he's come back in the next game and now he's opening the bowling. So it is just very muddled in terms of how are you trying to use people. First, they opened with Bumrah in a couple of games, where he bowled the first and third, and then they've gone back to giving him third and the sixth over. So it's a very unusual thing. I don't even know if they know what they're trying to do. To be very honest.
I mean, it even baffles me because it's coming from one of the best captains of IPL of all time.
Exactly.
He's a
Yeah.
captain of India. He's much more mature right now as a player, and as a captain, he knows what is happening. He has marshaled his troops so well. Do you reckon this is the first time in 10 years that this lad has been put under pressure and he has no option? And the first time in 10 years he's actually had to build a team. He's always been given a team who's had
Yeah.
superstars, who's had players, but for the first time in 10 years that he has been given a team where he had to build. So this is a real test of Rohit Sharma, isn't it?
Yes, great point. I was waiting for that line that this now is actually a real test for Rohit Sharma, the T20 captain. Because if I have a Bumrah, a Trent Bolt, a Rahul Chair, it's easier to captain them. Try
Right.
captaining a side with Jaydev Nadkar, Basil Thampi, Devil Group is bowling 1 over, Kiran Pulada bowling 2 overs. That's where your captaincy, your mettle, your leadership is tested. So very good chance for Rohit to show his credentials because it's still very early. Yes, they've lost 4 games in a row, but people have come back and won titles from here. It's just about getting those basics right. I think that has been one of the key problems. We've seen them in glimpses that yes, they have the potential to win games because everybody's flawed. You
Right.
just have to highlight the flaws of the other side. What is happening is you are eventually highlighting your own team's flaws with the way the game has gone along. So hopefully they find out what is it that is stopping them from playing the best possible 11, and then you take it from there. That okay, how are they going about it? Whether they too aggressive, too cautious? Because today it looked like a perfect start. Six
Yeah,
overs, 49 for zero. You can't ask for more. And then
absolutely.
suddenly everything just falls over. It's
Yeah.
strange.
I mean, now let's talk about RCB because we have analyzed about
Yeah,
15 minutes in the show and we're just trying to find out what is happening with Mumbai Indians because that's
yeah,
been the case. They're such a good team. It's like you talk about football, you have to talk about the Real Madrid, the Barcelona. When they fall apart, you know that you have to talk about these lads and these teams. So that's one of the reasons why we have spoken of Mumbai for far too long. Let's speak about
yeah.
RCB. They had a very poor first match, but since then, they've had
Yes.
heroes every match. Let it be Anuj
Yeah,
Rawat today. Let it be Harshal Patel, who's been very consistent. First, let's talk about Harshal Patel.
yeah,
He's known as the Purple Patel, of course.
yeah.
Do you reckon that every time now Faf du Plessis hands over the ball, he's expecting a wicket and he's delivering it with style? And batsmen are unable to get him away unless you ball a full toss like you ball in the last ball of the innings.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's very hard to get him away. Even sometimes full tosses, he's getting away with that.
So see, that is the role of say a Harshal Patel or a Dwayne Bravo or Dwayne Pretorius. These are the kind of guys who are they are. This is why they are in the side. So that way, it was a perfect time, perfect usage of your resource, if you want to call it that. That they did not hesitate and give the ball to Harshal and say that okay, bowl one over, get me a wicket, and he got it for them. But the thing is, the options that RCB have, that's what something that Mumbai is missing. About you have an Harshal Patel, yes, because Siraj is not doing well, but you still have a Hasaranga to bank on. That once Harshal Patel is gone off the bowling, you have a Onidu Hasaranga to come back from the other end and attack as well. So that is what you want as a unit, which is what RCB have done so far very well. They're using Akashdeep also brilliantly, ensuring he's used in the right way. And see, it's at the end of the day, it is about execution, but it's about giving your team, your players, the best possible scenario for it. Now, when they won the toss, they were bowling at 6 overs, 0, you would think that RCB should be the one who should be in that much more trouble. That okay, now if Mumbai get going from here, they have a crazy batting lineup to take care of. But then one wicket and then things just fall apart. Which is why I said get somebody like a Surya Kumar Yadav at 3. Why would
Yeah.
you want to play him at 4? You know the opposition is going to bowl Vanidhu Asarangan. It's just telegraph. I mean, that this is what is going to happen. Why do you want to give
Right.
it to that particular?
Right.
It's the same mistake that we discussed with Delhi, sending a Rahman Power. So
Right.
you have to be smart enough, and it's very bizarre that Mumbai cannot find out that who is better equipped at playing that kind of bowling that is going to come to them.
I mean, team who has relied most on matchups, team who has been tactically very astute in the IPL has been fed up by these
Yeah,
kind of decisions. So, and that's the beauty of IPL as well. One time you will come across in this stage,
yeah,
and you will be suffering as well. So let's talk about RCB, the youngster who has impressed everybody today, Anuj Rawat. We did speak
yeah.
about him earlier as well. How is he gonna go forward in the IPL? Will he be feeling the pressure? But today he did show. You can talk about Mumbai's bowling attack, but then it just shows that this lad has got the potential to take away. He can actually clear the ropes with ease.
Yeah, I mean, this is why he was playing right from the first game. They had got scores from him in the warm-up game as well, and RCB's bowling attack is good enough to be facing him even in the warm-ups. So I think they definitely liked what they saw in the nets. And see, sometimes that's the thing with youngsters; you have to give them a longer rope because it's not easy. Something that even Abhishek Sharma did very well today. That when you get a chance, you get it and you make it big. So I do feel there is a problem with RCB's opening pair. They are taking up a lot of balls and not quite getting into the in the second gear, but it's not costing versus weaker sides. Like today also, it was Virat Kohli who came in and then hit a flurry of boundaries to just ease the pressure because the record run rate had reached 9. So when you've got a good start, it shouldn't be reaching 9 that early. So there are areas to work on, but yes, impressed with the way he handled himself, made sure that the bad balls were punished, and it's a good such kind of knocks will help him plan the next innings much better.
Absolutely. And live cricket, coming to your question, we have a segment on that as well. We'll talk
Yeah.
about the booming fight, which is coming up very soon. So stay tuned for that. Nikhil, coming to Virat Kohli, this was one of the knock where he looked in good touch. Last match as
Yeah.
well, the first match where he just looked like himself, but then he got a run out
Yes.
and he got a very a jaffa from Umesh Yadav, where you
Yeah.
cannot expect anything more in that ball. But today he just looked like himself. He just looked like he wanted to rotate strike. He was playing those shots as well. What did you make of that knock of 48?
Yeah, I think he was looking very good, as you said, in that KKR game as well. The first boundary that he hit in that very game, I felt that wow, we do have Virat back. So that was good to see. And again, whenever he's playing freely, he is at his best because he's not somebody who's an anchor. He's a natural striker of the ball. He knows by natural striker I mean he's a very good timer of the ball. He knows his game inside out, and he's been in such situations for so many games now. So he knows what is to be done and how it is to be done. So hopefully these kind of knocks, as much as that knock was important for Nav, this knock was also important for Virat, the batter, so that he can get into a groove, settle into a good rhythm because you see Faf is taking his time to get going. But if Kohli can come in and start quickly and then you have Maxwell to follow, then this team looks very dangerous because then you still have DK to bank on, someone like a Shahbaz Ahmed. There is one Hassan whose batting potential is still untapped. So then that way the lineup becomes very scary.
Absolutely. Now talking about that, let's talk about Hasaranga, because Hasaranga was pretty good today, wasn't it? Because do you reckon what makes him different is this release points where he's much more
Yeah.
lower compared to another Ravi Bishnoi or a Chehel? His release points are very low that most of his googles hit the stumps, right?
Yeah, again, that so it's also his release points and his lines. I think he's very stump to stump. He doesn't leave the stump much. So what it does is, if you miss, I hit. That's the kind of ideology that is going with. And I think today also the ball that he bowled to Pollard, there was a different kind of release where he was
Right,
far more lower than he usually is. So
right,
that is something that tells you that he's definitely working on different options. But because his stop delivery is so good that and his googly, they're good. Like he got devil googlies and Pollard both with the googly. So that googly is lethal because it's accurate, it's coming at you at good pace, skidding through sometimes. So they beat him for pace as well. So he's I always liked him from his SLPL days. Good to see him get a good gig in the IPL, and it's a crucial season for him, replacing Chahal. Big shoes to fill, but so far I think he's done well.
right. Let's talk about another game which took place in the afternoon. It was between the defending champions Chennai Super Kings versus the Sunrisers Hyderabad. If you have to
Yeah,
talk about the match, it was Hyderabad who won the toss, put Chennai into bat. They only managed to score 154, and all thanks to one of the opening bursts by Washington Sundar. He picked up an early wicket, and Natarajan bowled a beauty to Ruturaj Gaikwad where he got him out. And from there on, it was a build up from Moeen Ali and Ambati who scored a run ball
yeah,
27. And in reply, it was Abhishek Sharma's show today. Alongside him, Williamson tried to anchor by scoring that 32 or 40. If it was on another day, people would have
yeah,
criticized the knock, but today it all came out well for the Sunrisers Hyderabad, and they're off the mark finally.
yeah.
Nikhil, coming to you, Chennai Super Kings, it is on the similar end of the spectrum like Mumbai Indians. No choices. They are absolutely looking clueless right now. But I think with Chennai Super Kings, it is more like not using the resources where they have a Hungeracre, they have a Simarjit Singh, they have a KM Master, but they've not made use of it. But they've stuck to a Mukesh Chaudhary. They've stuck to a very one-dimensional bowling attack, isn't it?
I think again, see, the point is the names that have taken, they're not somebody who's been part of the circuit for too long. They're also very young guys. They are inexperienced. Yes, they could potentially be the spark that you want, but that spark has to be supported by performance from the seniors, performance from the guys who've been there and done that. So that's where you need a Ruturaj Gaikwad to step up big time. You need a Uthappa to get you consistent 40s and not 12s and 20s. So see, it's again just 4 games into it. Uthappa's already had 140, I think. So it is a tricky role, but when you're playing in a tournament like this where your best guys are at the top, you have to find a way to make it work. There is no other option. And today, I think they were still fairly well placed. Chennai to going into the last five because I thought the surface was good enough for bowling also to hold their own fort, and we saw that with the way some of the Chennai bowlers bowled. But I don't think they ever got that finishing kick, despite that 6 and a 4 from Jadeja towards the end. you
Right.
could see that they were struggling because teams have found out that okay, these are the 2 3 areas where you bowl to these guys and they'll not score. So that is something that I'm sure they need to look into. I still feel they are not using the batting depth as much as they should be. Jordan, Bravo, they should all be getting more batting. If you want, send a Jordan up in the middle overs, ask him to go after the bowling. However, you want to do it. So Shivam Dubey is coming in getting say 6 7 balls. So on a deck like this, when it's harder to start, you have to be a bit more proactive in terms of because you are batting first. Now you see
Right.
the same problem was not with SRH because they always knew that this is the score that they are chasing. So
Right.
even if they had to take a risk, they could have probably sent anyone out there that okay, these are 6 balls, get me 20 runs, that's it, your job is done. So then it
Absolutely.
becomes a different game. But if you're batting first, then you have to be a bit more proactive and find the way. So I think the batting was still okay. But as I said, the bowling clearly lacks bite. They are missing Deepak Chair dearly, and uh, God knows how many adjectives you want to add there, but they don't have option. So
Right.
it's a thing that you have to think at the auction that who was your replacement for Deepak Chen? Was it Tushar Deshpande? Was it Simranjit Singh? Was it K. M. Asif? K. M. Asif played a few games for them before. So why is he not playing? Is there an injury issue there? So they will have to now ask these questions even more frequently to themselves because times will start to run out because you get into a bad habit of losing games, you'll start losing from any situation. So
Right.
that is something that they'll want to arrest. Uh, the composition today, they played Mahesh Tikshina for Dwayne Pretorius, which I don't quite agree that why would you drop Dwayne Pretorius? The guy has been doing well for you and he could add valuable depth with the bat. But maybe they rated Chris Jordan's bowling more over Dwayne Pretorius. So again, it's
Right.
Jordan's form hasn't been that great. But Dwayne Pretorius' form this year has been great. So again, as I said, very strange to see experienced guys, experienced setups taking such calls. Of course, there will be logic to it. They are not idiots or stupids to make random decisions, but you cannot understand from the outset that okay, what is the thinking that is there that is leading to such calls.
Right. Nikhil, talking about Chennai Super Kings, do you reckon this season one of the major issues for their downfall has been their opening partnership not clicking like last time around? Last time around, when they won the championship, they're close to 1,300 runs scored by Ruturaj Gaikwad and Faf du Plessis. They both scored 630 plus runs. This time around, you do not have a Ruturaj Gaikwad who's not gotten off the best of starts. Even today, he got out a really good ball from Natarajan. And on the other end, Robin Uthappa hasn't given him the kind of support which Faf du Plessis gave him. Even last time, the Chennai Super Kings for their opening, they won their tournament just because of their opening partnership, isn't it? More than the middle order coming and being tested.
Yeah, but then that opening also came good after 3 games, right? So it
Right.
was one of the openers was going good. Ruturaj then came into his own in the next 4 5 games, but it was because of that the thing that when Ruturaj was not performing, Moeen Ali stepped up in those games, or somebody
Right.
else stepped up. So that is what is missing for Chennai this season. That they are not getting that big performance from that experienced guy. So as you said, you can play youngsters, you can play whoever you want to, but it's the guys who've done their thing that they have to step up. Because if they don't do that, then there is nothing that you can do that is going to allow the youngster to outperform the rest. So, in that sense, lots of questions for them. Uh, I don't see Ruturaj getting dropped for sure, but
Yeah.
you do feel that it's just that one game that he has, that one good game where he could come in, get himself a good score. See, it could possibly that they have also batted first a lot.
Right.
Now, if they were bowling first, the one game that they did keep the opposition to a low score, they couldn't, not a low score, to a chaseable score, they didn't do that.
Yeah.
But they need
Yeah.
a good bowling performance while bowling first and then their batters to get a good game. Maybe that is something that will get the team to bind together that, okay, now the openers have got a score. Your number three, number fours, they're already getting good hits, but it's
Right.
just like they're not clicking as a unit. So they need that one perfect kind of game to just get them rolling as an engine.
Now talking about another player as well, Ambati Raidu. He's been a key part of Chennai Super Kings squad over the last 4 years. And if you talk about the middle order, one player who's a crazy good hitter of spin bowling has been Ambati Raidu. He has never been challenged by even one of the best bowlers in the IPL, Rashid Khan. He is really good. He has a good matchup against him. And even if you look today's game, he just looked like he couldn't get away. It is not the usual Ambati Raidu. Is it just that now the other age is catching up, or it's just that he's coming off a lot of lack of game practice? But that's one thing which we've never seen on Ambathired of the last 2 years as well.
I think today I actually saw him come out very aggressively. So that is how I read it, that he's come out and wanting to play his shots every ball because of the situation that they got himself into. So in that regards, I would not blame him for going after every ball, if even if he did that, because that is what was needed there. I
Right.
honestly did feel that they'll probably start with Raidu up top only, uh, but again they've gone with Robin Uthappa, so no problem there. He did start well, but then it's about when you start well, you have to get going. It's like very harsh example to give, but say someone like a Gill or a Shaw, whoever it is, you have to give them that start. Somebody like Abhishek Sharma did that today, or even if you are a Kane Williamson to that Abhishek Sharma, you have to find the other guy. That is what Chennai has not been able to find. They're not able to find the Kane Williamsons also and the Abhishek Sharmas also. So it's a
Right.
very strange place to be in for them as well, because it's the first time they are in such situation. Funny
Right.
enough, they lost 4 games in 2010, but they won
Right.
that season.
Yeah.
So it looks very weird that I don't know how much to read into things now.
But if you talk about 2010, you had a team, you had a Murali Vijay, you had a Badrinath, you had a solid team. And even in the bowling attack, they had a Mutaya Murali and Ashwin. So it was a totally different team altogether. And you had MS Dhoni used to come and pull off those magics.
Yes.
Who remembers those? And who doesn't want to forget those sixes which he hit off Irfan Pathan in Dharamshala? So that's one thing which we will call about 2010. And Chennai fans will be really hoping that superstition works and they get through to the playoffs at least. Now let's talk about Sunrisers Hyderabad. Nikhil, one thing which we'll still stick to is Kane Williamson batting at number three, isn't it? Because he just didn't look even again like he just looked out of sorts. He wasn't getting the ball away. And when Rahul Tripathi came, 15 balls, 39 runs. That's a crazy good knock. If you're just considering the way in which he was timing the ball, it just looked like he was batting in a different surface, and everyone else was batting in a surface which was very alien, isn't it?
Yeah, again, it just bewilders you even more than why is he not opening the batting? Why are they not keen on intent? Why are they not intent on using him in the power play? So maybe this is a blueprint that they want Williamson to bat through, bat deep, and then everybody around him just goes after the bowling. Maybe this is their plan. This is what Warner did, but Warner did that at a better strike rate for a long period of time. So maybe this is what they want to try out, and it worked out today for them, not for Williamson. It did for the Sunrisers as a batting unit. So let's see if it continues. If it doesn't, I'm sure they'll make that start. But as I think John said in one of the videos, that if it's a plan A, you'll want to give plan A more games before going to the plan B and plan C.
Right. Let's talk about one baffling call by Sunrisers Hyderabad, which we already mentioned in today's live, was Abdul Samad being dropped. Did you make any logic out of that decision, considering he's being one of the retained players, as we discussed the importance of a retained player? Secondly, unless there's an injury, why would you not give confidence to a youngster who has got that X factor? You have seen this lad dispose some of the biggest bowlers in world cricket out of the park, and he's got that ability even to ball. They've not used that ability of his leg spinning bowling as of now, but then it clearly sends out a message to even other youngsters in the group, right? You don't perform for a couple of games, and your spot could be under the hammer.
Yes, exactly that. When they don't understand, when you take a call, there are multiple ways that the call can be interpreted by different people, even in that very setup. So it was very surprising, very shocking that if you retain someone, you're not finding him useful, then either you have made a blunder by retaining him, or you're making a mistake by dropping the guy, because you're not using him well. He's somebody who
Right.
can come in and hit. Now, if you're going to tell that you go out there, face the best bowlers in the death overs, and go hit every game, Kane Williamson is not able to do that. Why are they expecting Abdul Samad to do that at the end of an inning? So the expectations have to be real. You cannot throw a youngster down the bus saying that okay, you're not able to hit the best paces at the death. This is why you were in the team. But then it's the best paces that are bowling. Give him enough game, give him enough time in the middle. He has to come in and go from ball one. That's not going to help him. Or
Yes.
if he's not able to make the right decision, it is your call as a coaching setup that you ensure that he is in a much better space to take those decisions going forward. So, and that cannot happen by dropping him. Sorry, that it it doesn't work that way. That you take him off the team and then say that we'll work with him. It doesn't work out that way. So it's very surprising. But again, I think we should stop expecting logical things from SRH from the moment they let go of Rashid and Warner for the last season.
I mean, these are some serious management calls as well. Today, this season, you also saw a coach leave this particular franchise
Yeah,
because of a decision.
exactly.
So there's something really happening with this franchise, and it is affecting their results. Maybe today they got away with it, but soon, more often than not, you will be questioned for these decisions, and sooner than later, you will be coming under the hammer and under the scanner for these decisions. What you make. Talking about that as well, how impressed are you of Natarajan's comeback and this kind of form what he's showing? Because Indian team really wants a left arm seamer as well. And his comeback, the way he's been handling the new ball and also bowling the dead, it's been quite impressive, isn't it, so far?
Yeah, good to see Yorker Nattu back. Delighted to see him nail those Yorkers and cutters in the death overs. As you said, in Australia, in bigger grounds, you need this skill big time. So very good to see the way he started. Hopefully he can remain fit, last the entire tournament, and then India can take him up, and then you go again into that journey of trying to make him into the starting 11, because then you have so much options, that you have a Bumrah, you have an Avish Khan who you could try, because
Harshal
Siraj has
Patel.
gone off the boil, and so you have Harshal Patel, Avish Khan, Natarajan. That's a good combination to have for any given day, so that on a day, then depending on the conditions, you can play an attack that suits those conditions. So
Right.
having that option is very important in the first place.
No, as we're talking about ballers, and you just mentioned Mohammad Siraj's name, because that's one point which I missed out on talking about as well. What has happened with this lad? All of a sudden, you're seeing a Siraj of 2019 and 19 and 18. Is it
Yeah,
something which has to do with his bowling, or is it something which has to do just on a mental level? Because this lad was nailing Yorkers last year and the year previous to that, where he actually got into recognition. He's had a good international stint as well. It's not like had a bad international stint.
yeah,
So somewhere or the other, he's a retained player. Another retained player who's not delivered, I would say, so far
yeah.
at least. Do you reckon that he's feeling the pressure of the retention, or is it just that a new management, a new captain is not able to actually get the message on? Because there's nothing seems to be wrong with the management or the captaincy so far, but just talking about Siraj, what is happening with this lad?
Yeah. Again, as I said, very tricky. It's a very weird season, to be very honest. There are so many things that you cannot put a finger on and say that okay, this is black, this is white, this is the problem. You just cannot understand what is happening. So because it's not that you suddenly forget how to bowl well, or you suddenly forget your basic skills. It could be the case of there being some kind of a misunderstanding in terms of the role that Siraj has to do, or the length that the management wants him to bowl, or the length he wants to bowl. So there could be something on those lines, because this is not the Siraj that we saw the last year. As I said, this is somebody who was very young, very raw, coming into the setup a few years back. So it's very surprising for him to again go down that line. But now that they are winning, this is the best time to get around him, calm him down, and just talk it out that okay, what is it that is not working for you, and why are we seeing what we are? So when you win games, it's easier to do that because you take those things that much positively. When you're losing and you go ahead and you say these things, then it could have different meanings. But hopefully, I'm sure Faf will put an arm around Siraj and ensure that he gets the best out of him. If not him, he can take Kohli along, because I'm sure Siraj believes and adores Kohli a lot, Virat a lot. So I think that will also help. But there's definitely something that's not working for him.
I
But it's
think
hard to put a finger.
now Hazelwood coming in also will actually probably release some burden off him now that an international senior pro is going to come into the lineup, going to be
Possible.
bowling with them in the death as well. So possibly now the role can be much more clarified as so Hazelwood and Harshal will be bowling in the death, and possibly Akashdeep and Siraj up front. Possibly that could be the way they might go about it, isn't it?
Yeah, it could be that Siraj is probably facing the heat of being the lead bowler and he wants to do too well. So sometimes you try too hard. But again, these are just things that we will assume from the outside, because we don't know what's happening inside or with him. So hopefully he once Josh comes and he plays, let's see if there's a difference, because then we will definitely know that maybe okay, this was possibly the reason that we were seeing what we were.
I mean, I possibly thought initially it could be an injury issue, but he's been bowling the fastest balls of the match as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
and he won the fastest delivery of Swiggy, whatever it is. It was driven for
yeah.
four, and I don't understand the meaning of that award even now. So, talking about all that, let's get into the fantasy segment of the day. As one of our
Yes.
viewers wanted to know as well, let's get in to know from Nikhil straight up. Nikhil, let's get to our last match first up. How did
Yeah.
your picks go, and how many of them did you have in your lineup?
I had four of them. I didn't have Anuj Rawat. I honestly did not expect him to uh, score the runs that he did in the manner in which he did today. I had
Yeah.
Deval Brovis and Tilak Verma because I expected them to bowl as well. So I felt even if Anuj scores some runs, I thought Tilak and Deval would counter. But it's okay. You can have that. I was still in profit because my captain was Harshal Patel and vice captain was Manish Asaranga. So I got good enough points.
I mean, that's great, isn't it? Because on a good day as well, if you're able to make such, on a decent day as well, if you're able to make
Yeah.
profit, that really speaks volume of how you should be investing in fantasy cricket and how you should be going about it.
Yes.
Now, talking about that, let's bring the first match as well, because today we had a double header. So let's talk
Yeah.
about next five picks. How many of them did you have from the first game?
Here also, I had four of them. I didn't have Abhishek Sharma. So it was a day of left-handed openers batting me out of the game at times.
Yeah.
But thankfully, my captain was Moin, so saved me a few blushes there. And
Right.
so because I legit did not expect Abhishek Sharma to come off the way he did. I thought Chennai would, with Chennai having Mahesh Theekshana as well, and also Moin Ali, I thought they would find a way off to take care
Right.
of him early up top. But it didn't. It didn't work out. But it's okay. I still made decent profit out of it. Not much because it was a very standard fixed combination game. But that's okay. You can have such days.
Yeah.
Not a problem.
I mean, talking about that, I had a very bad day at fantasy cricket. None of my players
So
came. It was a wavy hair day for me, though my hair looks good today on the camera, but
uh,
whatever it is. And another bias which I have is on RCB match days, I don't play fantasy sports. So
no.
just taking that away as well.
Okay, good excuse.
Yeah. So, Nikhil, I'm handing over to you to have such
Yes.
lemonade kind of a days. So, for the ones who do not know, lemonade kind of a days are the days where you absolutely have a bingo at fantasy sports, where you
Yeah.
nail it all, where you have almost your 11 players performing well, getting that top most prize as well. So, if you want to have lemonade kind of a day and a wavy hair kind of a day is where you absolutely have a bad day at the office. That's it. And I'm going to have Nikhil talking about how to have more of these very good days in fantasy cricket. I'm going to talk about the scores which he's doing with Mad About
Yeah.
Sports. Nikhil, handing over to you.
Yes, so this course is with Mad About Sports about how to be in profit in fantasy cricket. The simple logic is to have such processes, such questions that we need to ask ourselves when we play fantasy cricket, so that at the end of the day we get something back from every game. No matter
Right,
what the game is, no matter how horrible the team is, there has to be a way to get something back, and there is. And the way is to have such processes in place, like what is the data that is useful for you, what are the contests that you should join, and then if you're joining with a safe contest, what is the team that you should make for that contest. So there are various factors that eventually decide our returns from the game, but we don't think about it that much. So we need
right,
to think about the game, we need to think about the possible flow of the game. If you're not
right,
sure, make a backup team, use that backup team and put it in different contests, get different amounts. Like now, I didn't have Abhishek Sharma in my one team, but I had him in my Grand League teams. The only reason why I did not win a big amount was because my vice captain was Bhuvneshwar Kumar. So at least I could think that way, because the more you think, the more you try, the more you learn that okay, these are the kind of teams I can make. So these are the kind of contests I should join. So that is something that I feel is missing from a lot of people. That individuality is not there. The uniqueness is not there. So my course
right,
is aiming at allowing people to find themselves that okay, what kind of player you are, and then you
right,
play and invest accordingly. Don't look at somebody else and invest like them. Be
right,
yourself. Only then can you win big, and it is possible to be in profit. It's just a disciplined process that you have to follow, and once you do that, you will benefit. Like so many students already have benefited after having taken that course. So if you are someone who's stuck into investment, how much, which games to join, which platforms to play on, the course is right for you.
absolutely. Talking about financial risk and talking about playing for free, the one platform which offers you that is Boomer 11. And do remember this IPL, you can win prizes worth up to $5,000. And also remember that we are doing some giveaways on our social media channels. So follow all our social media channels, our Twitter page, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and also our Instagram page where we give all the latest sporting updates. We post memes, and we'll also give you fantasy tips as well right before the game. So do not miss out on
Yes.
any of those things and get some free awards and free gifts by playing our fantasy contests as well. Get a great experience with Boomer 11 through the course of the IPL. And we're going to be having Nikhil, we're going to be having Santipani, Jones, and many others as well joining us post match every day. So subscribe to our YouTube channel for that. Do not forget that, lads. Click on the bell icon because we'll be going live
Yes.
every day post game. So,
Yeah.
having said that, thank you, Nikhil, for joining. It was a wonderful and long discussion about two
Yeah.
champion teams who have had a very bad start of the
Yes.
IPL, and that is what it is. It is probably the season of rest.
Yes. It's a sign that this team will also struggle if you don't follow the right process. So it's important to stick to the processes.
Right. As they
Yes.
say, cliche, stick to your process and momentum
Stick.
will be on your side.
Yes.
All right, and have a good night,
Cool.
lads. Stick to your processes as well.
Yes.